You should go to Hydro Bar. I don't know if you have time in your day, but
do you fill up like 5 gallons at a time?
Oh, I do. I got like 6 gallons a day. I drink 2 a day.
You drink 2 gallons a day?
Yeah. This is the second one.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta stay hydrated.
I've seen the jiu-jitsu mats where it's like just totally soaked.
Ugh,
Is that because of you?
Ringworm and fucking staph and infections. That's what that looks like.
All right. Well, then, I'm Isaac Garcia.
I'm Dwight Maters.
And if you're listening to this listening to our sound waves on the other side, it's probably because you had something very similar to me at a time. And you did a thing that people told you to do with your life. And now you don't know what to do because freedom is an awful thing. And I don't know what to choose for dinner, let alone what I want to do with the rest of my life. So you have an infinite number of possibilities in front of you, paths. So go ahead and pick it. Go to grad school or go to business school or go to horoscope school or wherever meteorologists come from. Start a side hustle or start a podcast. And I mean that slightly sarcastically because that's what we're doing. So
that's all it takes.
I'm here with Dwight Maters. You've been doing MMA for like 10, going on 11 years?
Yeah. 11 years.
And originally from Oakland?
Originally Oakland, yep. Born in San Francisco, raised in Oakland, San Francisco, all over the place.
And when did you make it down here to New Mexico?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. And why?
To fight. So I came down here to move to start training at Jackson Wink.
Mm-hmm.
Came down here at 2018, I believe. I just packed everything up in my car, left January 10th, got here on the 13th. And then from then, it's been a good, fun story.
You said that, or you told me during one of our sessions that you were, this is your word, not mine, but you were a bum is what you called yourself.
Well, I mean, I guess I could say that, right? So the first thing was just initially, I wasn't really having much in life in my life. I was just kind of angry all the time, and I didn't really have an outlet of where to store all of this. And then one day I just kind of was like, I need to do something with my life, and fighting was there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a realization, but fighting helped me, or in this journey has helped me learn how to have an outlet to control myself.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that I'm like a danger to people or I was like that, but I was very harming myself with a lot. Like I was drinking every day, eating whatever I wanted. Like I didn't care. I was just kind of living for the moment, not really like had a plan. I didn't sit there and be like, 3 years I'll graduate high school and I'll be this. Like I just kind of started working at 16 and just fell in the corporate world, and then was like, man, lost myself in the way.
Yeah. You said you worked at Apple, right?
Yeah, my work history has been crazy. My first job started at PetSmart, selling animals, and then I got fired. And then the next day I went from PetSmart to Best Buy, and then just started working at Best Buy. I worked at Best Buy for like about 4 or 5 years, and then I went to like all the other big corps, so Microsoft, Samsung, Google, and then I ended at Apple.
That's crazy.
Very crazy.
That's really crazy. And then you gave that up to pursue MMA here in New Mexico?
Yeah. So pretty much what happened was when I lived in Oakland, I have my own house. So I'm a homeowner at 19, 20 years old, 20, 21.
That's
one of those I always forget. But I pretty much just hustled and worked. I had 3 or 4 jobs. I was doing Apple. I was doing security, working at Target in the mornings. And I was also doing Uber and Lyft. And I was working from like 11 to 3 a.m. and then training 7 a.m. till 11. And yeah, so in the Bay Area, obviously, it's expensive to live out there. So I was just hustling every day. And then throughout the time, I was like, I really need to give something up. Obviously, I can't be working 3 jobs and training. I wasn't proud of it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this is it's fun, right? Like, I hated working security. I hated working at Target. I hated working all these things. Fighting was my passion. Is like, this is going to be my getaway. Even though I didn't know what my plan was, I just knew I just had to go train. So I would just stick to training. And then I slowly started quitting everything, and I was saving enough money to just be like, you know what, New Mexico is cheap compared to living in the Bay Area, where I could save enough money to go down there and be good for the next couple of months and then just settle in. When I first moved here, I didn't even have an apartment set. I just moved. I just packed my car, left, and started my journey.
Did you just show up to Jackson Wing's front door and
I showed up at 1 a.m.
You did?
1 a.m. On a Saturday. And I just was like, well, I'm here. Now what?
Yeah.
And just everything started unraveling from there. Like, you find a way, you find a how. Like, it's not like I was like, whoa, I was scared to move out here. It was scary. I didn't have anyone out here. There was no fallback plan. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, what are you going to do, right? You book a hotel, you're safe for the night.
Right.
I had enough money to book a few nights. I saved enough money to book a few nights in places that I don't want to spend the night. And I was like, well, this is my story where I started.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eventually got an apartment, and it's just been going since.
Those are I think my favorite stories is when people had these luxurious lives and then decided that they were going to give up that comfortability financially for something that they wanted to pursue for the rest of their life.
Yeah, but that was my biggest thing too. Is like, I found fighting 10 years ago, but when I was still working at Apple, and I remember we had like this big meeting, this big like conference thing that was like 3 or 4 days, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to miss it because there's no way I'm gonna be able to, with the amount of traffic, go like to this place to go train and go back and forth.
Yeah.
So I remember like just looking around the room, and it was just like everyone's compliant or they're happy because they've made it to Apple, and they're like, oh, this is good. We're making X, Y, and Z.
They did it.
Yeah. So everyone was comfortable.
Yeah.
And I was just all like, man, Steve Jobs has his legacy. Like, these people are just helping him build his legacy. What am I doing for mine? We're helping him build his own.
Yeah.
In 20 years from now, if I don't make it with my fighting opportunity, if it's a crazy dream, but if I don't pursue it, I'll be more mad at myself than, saying, hey, at least I'm compliant now.
Yeah.
Or is this like Apple's going to be there in 20 years? I could always go back.
That's true.
I want to go back, but if worse comes to worse, where I was at, whatever, just 78 years ago now, I could still always go back.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy to get to.
Have you heard of the book 4 Hour Workweek?
Uh-uh.
It's by an author called Tim Harris.
Uh-huh.
And he talks about how you that you can always go back. He's like, one thing that pushes people away from doing it is the fear of the uncertainty, or just fear itself too. Yeah. Do you think you always had like the fighter? Now that you're looking back at your earlier life, do you think you always were a fighter?
Oh, for sure. Life has not been kind to me. Like, life is it's been a very interesting experience that I've been in, and just throughout every day of my life, like everything that I've been through. And I was just like, wow, there's something in me that makes me not want to give up. And it's just like someday, like how I'm still here is blessed. Like, I don't understand how I'm still alive. And a lot of the things that have happened to me, I've been hit by cars. I've been just a lot of things. And I'm just like, I'm still here for a purpose. So for me, all those times where I was like, I want to be so dead. I want to be this. I want to be that. Cause I dealing with everything I had to deal with. I was just like, it doesn't make sense. If I don't go out and try to do my best, or like try to do something with myself, then I'm just going to give in into the corporate world of I'm compliant and I'm not really myself.
Yeah.
Like, at least when I'm fighting, it's fun times. It's under my own terms.
Yeah.
I don't have a job where I'm stuck in a cubicle where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could punch this guy. And now I can actually punch people for a living.
Is there like a defining moment where it was like, this is it? Like, this is what I want to do.
Black Friday, when I had to work Black Fridays.
No way.
There was, with fighting, I never knew really what I was getting myself into it. Like, I just knew that like I pushed myself just because when I first started, there was this whole like, no one really thought I would be able to take it seriously because of the person who I was. Like, I'll be like, I'm going to go do this. And then I'll be drunk, passed out in the streets of San Francisco at 3 a.m. on Saturdays. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Where it's just like, oh shit. So everybody always is like, yeah, whatever. And then that was just one of the things where I just like was trying to prove everybody wrong. I'd be like, yo, you see, I'm going to do this shit.
Yeah.
And I just kept on doing it.
It's almost like you got to prove it to yourself too.
Oh, 100%. It's still to this day, right? Like, there's a lot of accomplishments I've had in my career. But at the end of the day, like, all those don't matter to me. Is like, as long as I still do, I'm a better person than I was who I was beforehand. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I don't really care about belts. I don't really care about having like, my fight is my art. So I get to go have fun.
Yeah. Is there a bigger accomplishment that you think is to you than it would be to society or everybody else?
I just got to say, going 3-0 as a pro so far, like, that's been my biggest thing. Cause it just is funny to me. Cause it's like, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've taken my time. I've done competitions after competitions. I've been screwed so many times by promoters, by fighters. I've always have been like the setup person where like, hey, go set this guy up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care. I just want to fight. So it's
Yeah.
like, cool, whoever you throw in front of me, let's go. Let's have fun.
Is there any wisdom that you can share with people, given specifically your discipline?
I mean, wisdom of
fighting's got a lot of wisdom.
I can't break it down to just one part of wisdom. It's just, you just got to understand who you are and this life that we live in.
It's much more of a broad question to ask, like a dentist. Like, is there any kind of wisdom? And then they're like, yeah, there's a specific thing. But for fighting, it definitely, there was a video, Andrew Tate. I don't really watch a lot of his stuff, but it was a quick snippet, and it was like, and he said that, people want to go discover themselves. So they want to go and travel Europe. But if you really want to figure out who you are, like what your quality, like how much grit do you have, start fighting. Like start any kind of martial arts.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu is one of them that I would say, hey, you feel like you're the tough guy, go do some jiu-jitsu and then understand what life really is. It's a humbling experience for sure.
You're here sitting with like a bruised rib, getting knee, and still doing a podcast. Yeah, like that's something to say for itself.
Oh, for sure. I love fighting. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's just like, I don't love what fighting comes with. Like, obviously there's politics and a lot of stuff in the world of fighting. That's the stuff I just really don't generally give a shit about. Like, it is what it is. I just want to fight with people and that's it. Like, I don't care about the whole, like, oh, this person, this, that, this, you could only learn from me. Like, no, there's everyone that could teach you everything. So if there is any wisdom, is just understand that knowledge is power. You just go in there and learn from anyone that's anything.
Yeah.
People have something to show you regardless of what it is, but just be iffy, be picky on who you really trust. Cause there's some people out there who don't deserve that.
Yep. Learn that the hard way.
You go out there and you start seeing all these coachings and all these pad holders where you're just like, what are you doing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing too with teaching. Fighting and teaching, I've realized like when I first started coming down here, I overtrained so much. I would train like 4 or 5, 6 hours a day, 6 sessions. I was just here to dedicate myself to training because that's what I moved here for.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time. Like I didn't have friends. I wasn't doing anything. I was just in the gym session. But then you burn yourself out. You experience burnout, and burnout is like, I'm doing something I love. Why am I feeling like this? Like, why do I not want to be here?
Mm-hmm.
And I experienced that a lot where I was just like, fuck, what am I doing? Like, I should be happy, but I'm not. Like, I'm miserable. I'm tired. And then that's when I realized, it doesn't really matter to train 1,000 hours at the gym physically if you're not like getting everything else mentally, getting all your nutrition and sleep and stuff. Because then at that point, what does it really matter? You could be a monster lifting 1,000 pounds of weight. Yeah. If you're not mentally strong, then what are you really doing?
Yeah. Right.
And then that's when I was able to, so I hold it back. I quit training so much. I mean, I still kind of do, but I mean, I do what I love, right?
Yeah.
But now I take it back, and teaching is a form that I do now of training. Now I'm able to just work on the fundamentals and basics, which has helped me in my fighting. Just explaining how to throw simple punches. Now I'm like, oh yeah, hey. Now it helps me sharpen up my own skills. Mm-hmm. So,
I think Kobe Bryant talks about how people try to get a little too fancy, a little too quick.
Yeah, fundamentals.
Like, I just got to work on my fundamentals.
That's it. It's like a tree, right? Like you plant a seed, grow that tree, and then once it starts learning all that other cool stuff, you start making branches, which has everything. But yeah, people want to make everything all fancy. Fundamentals.
I got a quote in the back of my phone case, and it's from a fortune cookie, and it says, big storms make oak trees take deeper root.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah.
100%. A lot of those storms, you have to withstand them and just understand that they're not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Even when it seems like it's drowning you.
Do you have any big plans coming up?
I'm just training, getting myself ready for whatever happens. Right now in my career, I'm 4-0 or 3-0, trying to go 4-0. Just whoever wants to go up, whoever wants to pay for me to go lose, quote unquote, as they say.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Whatever they want. And like I said, it's kind of funny now that you have your own like little standards. I don't know if I should be speaking about this, but it's like, as a promoter, you'll get like, oh, hey, here's this opportunity. And the opportunity's not really that good. It's the point where you're like, hold on a second, right? It makes you feel like you're fucking working at the circus. Like, here, dance, monkey, dance. Here's 2 peanuts instead of 1. Yeah. So, it's just let me fight.
Yeah.
I don't care about these politics. Just throw me in whoever wants to knock my ass out.
Who promotes that for you? Like, who gets you the fights?
I have my own team. I have my
team?
management team. And
Yeah.
they hook me up. Shout out to them.
Yeah. You were saying something that I wanted to touch on, but I think I got lost into whatever we were talking about, so I don't know what to go back to. But it was, even when you feel burnt out, is it because there's a lack of excitement for what you're doing, or is it you're still excited, but you are just physically and mentally burned out? Is there a difference?
I think it's kind of both. I mean, there's a burnout, and then there's like the whole you're not inspired type of shit, right? Whereas like when you're burnt out, you honestly don't feel like doing nothing versus being uninspired. Like, being a burnout that you are, where you're constantly doing stuff, where you're constantly doing this, small injuries turn into big injuries turn into like longer days off. So now that I've learned to listen to my body, where I start feeling that fatigueness, where I start feeling that where I'm like, I gotta just rest. Then now I take pride in resting. Beforehand, I used to be like, nothing is gonna stop me, but eventually something will. Like all the close encounters that I had, I was just like, I'm glad, like, now as I have all these injuries that I go through, younger me would be like, fuck it, fight through it. And then next thing I know, I'm still 3 months into it, and I'm like, why am I hurt?
Yeah.
So now I've understood to take my time and actually recover so I could come back stronger.
Oh, I got to tell you about this crazy experience I had at the barbershop. So this guy, he was doing my hair, or cutting my hair, and he was just like, yeah, my brothers and I did boxing. And he points to his brothers, and he's like, but we didn't want to fight at all because we didn't want to register our hands. We get in fights all the time. He's like, we didn't want to accidentally get attempted murder. And I didn't even think of that as
essentially that's not, I mean, I've never registered my hands, but at the end of the day, I'm a fighter, right? Like, I'm not like, I get in a lot of fights that nothing is going to stop me. No, that just sounds like you drink a lot of alcohol and you don't know how to control yourself, right? Like, at the end of the day, a true fighter knows that he's not going to just go out there and beat the shit out of somebody.
Hopefully not trying to be in the wrong place at the right time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that alone, it's not like that nonsense where it's like, I don't know, man, I got to register as a deadly weapon, but you're downing Coronas or shots, and you're like, I'm a deadly weapon.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know, whatever helps people sleep at night. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you're a true martial artist, you control yourself. You know how to control your emotions. You're not going to let go in the streets and let whatever bad road rage settle you down or whatever.
Yeah. That goes part of the wisdom of being in MMA or just a fighter in general, right? Like when you're getting hit, like you want to be able to have that clear and calm demeanor. Yeah, I learned this in security. It's kind of weird. In security, you would hire on, and you would the first thing you would anticipate is, oh man, some shit's popping off. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna mess them up. I'm gonna go do whatever I want. But it actually is reverse. Really?
You do the opposite. You're like, I'm not trying to make any situation worse. I'm not gonna beat the shit out of somebody. I'm just gonna talk to them. Be like, hey yo, you're acting a fool. Leave. Simple as that. Hey, yo, you got to get out.
And you can de-escalate.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I've learned not to take all the interactions that I used to have all personal. Now I'm just like, man, as a security guard, I'm just going to make sure everything is good. I'm not liable for shit. I'm not there to make friends. I'm not there to shake people's hands and be like, hey, I'm going to fuck someone up if they're here. Like, no, it's complete opposite. I'm trying to take the situation out. And at the end of the day, I've learned if you just talk to people, that's a long way.
All righty. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, my microphone made it all the way through.
Nice.
So, is there anything you want to share with anybody else?
No, that's just it. Follow my journey, Akuma MMA, anywhere, everywhere. Dwight Meters will be out here.
All right, I appreciate you.
Bye.
Cool.
Oh my God.